There's so many of us in these times that are feeling broken, overwhelmed, lost, alone, scared, confused, wondering, what is the point? Where is this leading? How did we get here? And after collapse, after the loss, the shock, sometimes the betrayal, everything feels like it's fallen apart. And it can feel like there's no way through, no way to get back to what we once knew. But what if the point of collapse, of the tower moment, was to find a new way forward, a new way of being, a new way of relating? And this is not just one moment, this can be a series of events. Sometimes they can snowball, and one thing leads to another, and the situation just seems to be going from bad to worse. We can lose people who are important in our lives. We can have revelations about others that we thought were there for us, that were on our side, that understood us, that would be there no matter what. And there can be distance. And that distance can be lonely, confusing. At this time, sometimes our body, or often our body, will also feel like it's betraying us, letting us down. We can get ill, feel tired, stop sleeping, eating. We can be over-consuming the things that we ultimately know are not good for us. Anything to distract, to hide, to avoid the reality that we find ourselves in. We can have financial issues at the same time. We can lose contracts and jobs. It's like we are standing on shifting ground. But what if this ground was meant to shift? What if this was the only way that you could be redirected, that you could be put on a completely different path, led to a totally different set of beliefs, way of being in the world? What if this stripping away of all that we held on to is to turn our attention and our awareness back inside, back to ourselves? Because our attention is constantly outside, judging, comparing, desiring, wanting escape, wanting to be entertained, wanting to be soothed, wanting to feel anything. And to look inside, to return inside, to go inwards. How can that stillness, that quiet, that empty void compete with the way we are so easily able to get our dopamine hits, to be taken out of our reality, to be distracted, to allow ourselves to be numbed? So we don't go there. We avoid going there at all costs. Going there seems pointless, a waste of time. You're too busy to stop, to pause. It's too much to do. It's too boring. It's too weird. I don't find anything there anyway. Only the thoughts in my head that spin around and around. The pace gets faster. Anxiety rises. Your chest tightens. Your mind just races. Where's the peace in that? But when collapse happens, and often the bigger the collapse, the further off track we've gone. It is an invitation to even just begin to be curious, to begin to accept where you are. And I know accept can be a difficult word to swallow. So maybe let's start with be aware of where you are, without having to dramatize it anymore, but to be honest with yourself. And in accepting that, radical acceptance, it frees us up from resisting, from pushing, from wanting to fix, from chasing. It allows us to sit in the swamp of where we are, not to wallow, but to become aware within it. And then we can start to analyse and consider the unravelling. What led up to this series of unfortunate events? How did we get here? How did we get onto this wrong path? But if we're looking at it as a wrong path, then already we're not accepting that the path is the path. And sometimes we don't know where we're going, we don't know the way through, we get lost. And so instead of just racing forwards anywhere to find a way out, if we just stop and gather our bearings for a moment, and we really look at how we got here, look at our history, our personal history, look at our families, our upbringing, our relationships with others, with ourselves, with the divine or the universe, whatever you want to call it. We look at our history, not to beat ourselves up about what we did wrong or the wrong choices that we made, or to cast any blame or shame, but to review it in a way that honours the journey and perhaps brings clarity as to why we are here at this exact moment. The stories that we've told ourselves, the patterns that are playing out, all of it has played a part. All of it is relevant. And so to begin to unravel this huge knot, this complex situation that feels tangled and tight, unfathomable, and to slowly start to pull one of the threads. It doesn't have to be a difficult part. It could just be one of the easier threads that are sticking out that you can hold on to and gently pull. And be prepared to look at it with fresh eyes, with the willingness to learn, to understand, to take responsibility, to accept. And when we do that, when we are brave enough to go into the shadows, to really become conscious, to become aware, to become present in our daily life, that's when we can gain a new kind of clarity. A clarity that we didn't have access to before. That old version of self could not have possibly seen. And if we can do this while having compassion for that version of self, our younger selves, when we can do that with patience, with respect, because they brought us here to this point. You might be saying, but I don't want to be at this point. Nobody ever does. But sometimes it is necessary. And what the important point in all of that mess, in all of that pain, in all of that confusion, in the dark, the important question is, are you going to continue to make the same choices, the same excuses? Are you going to keep running? Are you going to keep hiding? Are you going to keep avoiding yourself, your truth? Or are you now ready to face it? Because if you face it, even if you are trembling, but somewhere inside of you, a voice says, I am ready, no more. I cannot go on like this anymore. And you surrender. You stop believing that you have ultimate control. That is when the path really opens up. Opens up in a way that your previous self could never ever comprehend. Opens up to such levels of peace, of bliss, of joy, of ultimate authenticity. And I want that for you. I want that for everyone. And it is possible, no matter how dark, no matter how far gone, no matter how much of a mess, no matter how isolated and alone, there is always a way back. A way back to a you that you did not even believe could exist. A new